how on earth are you going to become a successful investor? Now, we say that the investor, a successful investor, our definition, is when we can outperform the best fund managers in the world by at least 1,000% return on investment. Right? So, how are you going to do it? Well, first of all, you have to set a goal, because success is a progressive realization of a worthy goal. So if you want to become successful, you need to have a goal. And I hope that you're going to incorporate this goal that you've got within the power goal that you've set yourself. Now, the best way and the fastest and the quickest and the easiest way to get to a power goal is to understand the power goal method. In other words, there's a course that's available that you can, if you want to, you don't have to, but start with the quantum awakening. And the quantum awakening is that awakening where this call, okay, I'm taking on this challenge. I'm going to go for 1,000% better than the best fund managers, even if I've got no qualifications, I've never invested in my life, I've got no idea how to do it. But that is a goal, because a power goal, you do not need to know how. And it is an awesome goal. It is this wow goal that is totally unrealistic. But you know that it's possible. Why? Because someone else has already done it. So that is the power goal, and that is the progressive realization of that worthy goal. So I guarantee you, if you've got the skill and you can continue with that skill over a year or 2 or 3 or 5 years, you will have whatever you want in life, on condition that you learn that skill. Right, so that's the first thing. But how do you actually become successful? Well, you need to get the right information or the right skills in the right order for the level of the game that you're at, and then you have to do it. That's the sequence. And by doing it, you're going to see the results, and the results we measure with only one thing, a return on investment. Can you see how simple this process works? So what is the ideal that I think or that I follow? I can only tell you what I'm doing, and you should decide for yourself. I decided on the 1st of April, when we got into this lockdown, that if I had to lose everything, right, how could I get back on my feet very, very quickly? And I've said that within 91 days, I will have enough surplus so that I can outperform the best fund managers, because I know the only thing that matters is the growth that are we going to get on our money, because the harder our money works, in other words, the higher the growth is going to be, the quicker I will be in a position where my money can start working for me. And if my money works for me, I can retire. I can be financially free, if that is your goal. So I've said I have to learn a high income skill. In other words, I've said that I could not rely on my past experiences and anything. I have to start from all over. So the first thing that I decided was to learn a high income skill. Why? Because I have to learn how to work for my money. That's the first thing. Right. The second thing is, once I've got that skill within the next 90 days or 91 days, some of the skills can take literally a couple of days or a couple of weeks maximum. But once I've got that skill, then the next thing that I need to do is, now I need to focus on my investment. In other words, I want to get the maximum growth for the minimum amount of risk. So that skill that I've got, if there's a surplus, and when there's a surplus, I'm going to use the surplus in a business. In other words, I'm going to start a business. Why? Because I'm working with my high income skill. I'm working for my money. Now, my business is going to work for my money. But can you see that that is a new skill, a total new skill set that I have to learn? And by the way, you can learn this new skill set within 91 days. You can learn how to start a business with no idea, with nothing, within a week. From startup to income, that is what we teach. And with the Rainmakers, which is more advanced, that is over the 91 days. Even if you've got no experience, even if you've got no money, that is literally what you can do. Especially if you start making money and you roll that money back into this business. So I'm working with my high income skill. I've learned how to generate money, work for my money, right? To make money. Now the business is making money. And the moment that there's a surplus between myself and my business, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to learn another skill. And that skill is how to let my money work for me. This is where your investment comes in. So can you see the sequence? High income skill first. Secondly, business skills. Thirdly, investment skills, where my money is going to work for me. I like two ways here, and that is property and cryptocurrencies. By the way, nothing that I'm telling you is any advice. You can do whatever you want to. I'm giving you the broad outline of what I've done and why I've done what I've done. Okay, so that is the quickest way that I know. Now, let me give you a practical example of how I discovered this. I started off my career about in 82. In 84, I basically lost my job. In that stretch, I've bought a house, and I've bought 2 cars, a lot of debt, and I made an incredible discovery. So the first skill that I had learned was how to sell life insurance policies. So that was the first skill. And I've made a lot of money with that in a relative short period of time, so much so that I could get a lot of debt. And now suddenly all of that was, there was a great chance that I could lose it. But then I made a decision, and that was to learn how to get out of debt. Now, that's a skill. Nowadays, we call it the debt eradication course. That is based on the skills that I've learned during that time in order to speed it up. And when I started, I've said between 5 to 7 years, I would be out of all my debt without earning a cent additional. And the reason why it's between 5 to 7 years, I did not know what the interest rate were going to be, because at that point in time in July, for example, in 84, the interest rate went up to 24%. So if it's 24%, it would be 7 years, and if it was at 17%, it would be in 5 years' time. Because of that, I could start tracking and I could start measuring the growth. Now, at that point in my life, I did not really know the value of this growth, because I was still conditioned as a financial planner or as a financial advisor to believe the old system. But very, very quickly, I realized that there's another way. And that was someone offered me the opportunity to do a course. Well, the course was actually very, very expensive, at least to me at that point in time. But I borrowed the money, and yes, why I borrowed the money? I could see if I had that skill and if I could write more policies, right, it's an advanced skill, then I would have more surplus in order to pay off my debt quicker. Do you see where I'm going with this? And because of that, I've learned this skill, and I started seeing this as a separate profit center. And I've added that on top of paying off my debt. So I started accelerating my debt. But then something else happened. Very, very quickly, I realized that I'm going to run into a massive, massive income tax problem. So I'm going to pay almost half of my income just straight over to the government. And I thought, no ways, there has to be. So I learned another skill, and that was advanced tax law. And very, very quickly I realized, but this skill, because I know the skill, I can apply that skill not only to myself, but I can also apply to other people. Now, that skill took me about a year to get the certification, but it literally within the first 3 months, I started helping other people to prepare their tax, and I started generating a surplus income. Now, at that point in time, I used that surplus on top of my sales surplus, the advanced sales, and I started paying off my debt. And within 2 years and 7 months, all my debt was paid in full. That includes my house as well as the 2 cars. And then I sat with a new problem. And that problem was, but how am I going to let my money work for me? Because I could see that the system that I've been in, and the system about the unit trust and mutual funds and retirement annuities and pension funds and provident funds and endowment policy, that system is not working. So I wanted to know, but what's going to happen and what happened with my property? Because I've took this surplus that I had and I invested everything back mainly into the property. Of course, the 2 cars, but I knew that wasn't an investment. So I took that and I started calculating, and I developed the Property Pro investment system, which, by the way, is a new skill. So the moment that I had that, now, can you see what I've done? First of all, I said, okay, I've got this high income skill. And then I turned that high income skill into a business. And now I'm turning the business into an investment. So I could see that it was possible to get an incredible growth on your property investments because of this new skill that I had. And that is literally what I've done. And then within a year of that, I saw a new problem. And the new problem was simply because now I am busy building assets like crazy, which means that the income tax is one tax, but estate duties here in South Africa is another. Capital gains tax, that's another duty. And therefore I did the trust course, advanced trust course, to up my skills there, to stack on top of the other skills I had. So my skills literally started supplementing, and now that was my business. So here's the trick. First of all, high income skill. Secondly, your business. And the best way to do it is to use your skills to enhance and advance your business. And with that surplus, I generated into my property. Now, how do you measure all of this? Well, you simply measure it with the growth. In other words, what is the growth from when you start to the second year, to the third year, to the fourth year? And when you look at that growth and the explosion of that growth, because return on investment is actually an incredible concept. Basic, because it takes risk into consideration, and then the first year to get 100% is easy. But the second year to get another 100%, maybe not that easy, but on return on investment, it is not too difficult, because if I've made $1 million this year, and next year I make another $1 million, so although I've just made $1 million, in terms of if I leave all of that within my container, within my formula, which I'm going to explain a little bit later, if now I've got $2 million, can you see? So it's 100% growth, but from the first one, it's a massive growth. And that is a concept that I want to leave you with. Think about how can you accelerate. And remember, there's only one way. You have to learn skills. None of these skills I was born with. I had to learn it. And sometimes I had to suffer in order to learn it, because it wasn't always easy. Nowadays, the kind of skills that I'm talking about in terms of the internet has made it so easy. You know, when I started off in 2003, that was the first business that I built on the internet. It was a property school. If I take from there to where we are today and the tools that are available, one of the tools, GrooveFunnels, I'm prepared to give to you for free, and maybe at a certain point, if you're going to work through my affiliate links, I am willing to help you to build funnels that's going to speed up this whole process. But that is, of course, up to you. But and you can build a business, and from zero to millions in that course, which is freely available, and you've got full access to it even in the free courses that you're busy with. You're going to find that you literally explode that because now you've got a system, and in that course you're going to learn how to build a money-making machine, and that is where the trick comes in. So first of all, I'm learning how to do it myself through high income skills. Now I'm learning a business, and the trick about a business is you must have a money-making machine, and this is the reason why I'm giving you this course 100% for free, so that you can see what is the power of building a business. A business without that system, without that money-making machine, is not a business, unfortunately. And if you can add the two, your skills, to the business and grow that money-making machine, it's going to absolutely explode. This is a promise. And then, of course, when the time is right, you're going to move on to the next one and say, okay, but how can I make sure that my money starts working for me? And by the way, in the beginning, there's a fabulous way that I'm teaching my Wealth Creators Method, mentoring method students, how to use this surplus, and instead of going into properties and stuff like that, I can bring it back and roll it into the business with exponential, explosive growth. People, this is amazing stuff. And the best part of it, every single one of these skills can and must be learned. You have to learn this stuff. There is no other ways, because the conventional way does not want you to understand how easy and how simple it is. Right, so in the next lesson, I think what I'm going to do, of course, if you've got questions, go to the community. We've got the Wealth Game community, and put your questions there, and I'm going to answer them there. So make sure that you subscribe. Please use the same email address that you've used in order to subscribe to this course there, and then we're going to clear you, and as soon as you've cleared, I'll ask your questions there, because then the whole community can learn from any questions that you may have. Right, so the next lesson, I think I'm going to touch very, very briefly on the formula for riches, how it works, how powerful this little formula is, and give you a little bit of guidance on that. Right, I'll see you then in the next lesson.